Bangalore is typically a beer market. Whatever you do, the sale of beer cannot be overtaken unless and until it's a winter season. If you don't have a beer in your bar, your sale would probably drop by 40%. The local bars are doing better than pubs. Who has way old furniture, whose menu is about 50 dishes, only bar bites like chili chicken, andhra chicken, basic fish. He has a loyal customer.
When it comes to the numbers, so it's basically beer which is running your space mostly when it comes to liquor. And next comes your other hard liquor.
Next comes the king of drinks, Old Monk.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Rum.
rum.
Whiskey is...
Whiskey of course. Whiskey is there. But Old Monk is like it's like water, like Bisleri for us. It flows. The money you invest shouldn't matter if you lose it. That's the only advice I would like to give. You should be okay. I mean, you shouldn't make any changes to your life. Don't sell your land, don't sell your house, don't sell your jewel and invest into the business. Just invest like you're taking a phone or something. Nobody can make or break. It's you. If you're smart enough, you'll get through it.
Yeah.
You'll have to be smart enough to read people. That's what I believe. I mean, see, irrespective of how smart you are, people will cheat you. It's business. Business itself is, a game of cards.
Today on Just Curious, it's a dear actor for the Karnataka space, but entrepreneur for anybody who's had a beer at Hammered or probably a date at Candles Brew House or probably have taken a wonderful reel or a picture at Secret of Bangalore. So here's me welcoming Likith Shetty, actor, entrepreneur, and probably a adventurous human like I would probably want to coin. Likith, what's up?
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Just Curious.
Thank you,
Hegidira?
thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on this show. ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. I've watched your show many times.
Thank you so much. So, firstly, like the show name goes, it's Just Curious, diving straight into your entrepreneur's journey. So, with my Big FM journey starting in 2006, by the office building was in Kormangla being the hub of all the pubs and whatnot, entrepreneurs. Womb, maybe? I don't know. There are many things one would coin, wherein many areas have taken over the title today. So, Kargin's Cafe, which you started in 2015, was my hangout space because as RJs, after our radio shows, right, we didn't have much to do.
It
After
was in a
the-
walkable distance from me.
Yeah, hardly two
Just
few
one
blocks.
left and yeah.
Right. So, I remember hanging out there. So, these cafes and pubs, right, it has a place in everybody's calendar and
It's a
everybody's
de-stressing
life.
space.
Right. So, now curious to know how did you get into this space, because as a 89 born, you're a millennial and wanted to be an actor. You worked with Kannada films and Tulu films, and then now here you start your journey as an entrepreneur, wherein you also had a part of you as an anchor, right?
Yes. So my journey started in 2007 with Udaya.
Right.
So I tried for a year, and after a year they auditioned me, and then I got into the show. So I did that show for about 3 years, and during that time I was trying my luck with films. And in the meanwhile, 2007 I was studying interiors and doing interior projects. So I'm an interior designer.
Oh.
So my first project in 2007 was while I was in my second semester. It accidentally happened. I used to hang out in Polar Bear near my house, and the owner who happened to open another outlet in Aranaga. And just like that, he said, "Why don't you design it?"
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
Kishore.
no, Mr. Ravi Rai, his brother-in-law.
Got it.
Yeah. So he said, "Why don't you design it?" And I said, "Okay, why not?" So it just happened. It wasn't like I was looking for a project to happen. So from there, the project took off. My career took off
As
as an interior designer. But I was studying and I was working in Udaya TV as well as an anchor. So I was having like 3 jobs a day. Morning was college, evening was Udaya TV. Then after Udaya TV was projects.
So crazy. So what people talk about moonlighting today and hustling and having multiple streams of income accidentally started for you.
It was the need of the hour.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I had to finish my college. I had to make sure my EMIs were paid, whatever I had back then. So, and my passion, I didn't want to leave my passion as well. So, I wanted to get into films, and I didn't have any background. So, I kept on working, hustling, and Udaya TV helped me. It groomed me. So, you know how Udaya TV works, right? It was a 24 hours, I mean, not 24, 7 days job. We didn't have an off. There was no Sundays, there was no holidays for any occasions. So, you had to be on it. It was a live show. And sometimes other people who were hosting fell sick. We had to cover. Falling sick was the only time we would get off.
So for audience's curiosity, for a person who might be watching us from Delhi or probably I don't know which corner of the world, Udaya TV is a popular South Indian channel. Udaya especially stems from the Sun Network, which
Correct.
is a popular South Indian
One
network.
of the biggest
No-
networks,
Not just South Today, with big movies that they've given into the
even
world.
the IPL team,
Right. So
Sunrisers. Yeah.
right. So for Karnataka space, it was Udaya TV, which was probably the playground for all anchors to just test
A
the
lot
waters.
of people, yeah.
We've had popular actors come out of the
In fact,
channel.
Ganesh sir was my inspiration to get into Udaya.
Golden Star Ganesh.
Yes. So he made it look like your dreams could be lived if you get into the path. So I tried that and it worked. It's worked to a great extent. That today I'm producing my own films.
Oh, I mean, I think that's a common thread in your journey because little did I know, I mean, a man who has had multiple breweries like the Founders Brewery, which is about to launch in 3 days, Candles Brew House, Top House, which is a pub in Bangalore, Caramel Hotel, Secret of Bangalore, and the famous chain Hammered, which is probably now Oni Brew.
Yeah, Hammer's changed to Oni, and then the Bell Road one's changed to Founders Brewery, and the HSR one we gave up to a friend. He's opened it.
It's called as Atlantis.
Atlantis,
Cyber Store,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, but somebody who's now building an empire of pubs and breweries and hotels. I mean, it's surprising to know that journey started with somebody even working multiple jobs to fund your own survival.
It was the need of the hour. So, like I said, if you have to survive, you have to sail through it. You'll automatically learn to swim. And it's been an exciting journey because you meet a lot of people. I was 16 when I started Udaya, so as an anchor. And that helped me a lot in grooming myself, self-confidence, commitment. Like, irrespective of whatever happened, it rains, it's windy, it's dusty, whatever, you're going to show up in your show. You're going to go to the studio at 5. You're going to go air at 7 p.m.
Ah.
So that was fixed. That was like a routine of my life, like a breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I would feel incomplete. There was many times I landed up with a couple of films during I was doing the show. That was the trend back then. If you were on Udaya TV, you get a film.
There are
And
chances that some producer might cast you as a hero.
I did get casted for films, and of course I'm always grateful to Udaya TV. Whatever I am, that's been the biggest stage for me to come up from.
Which I'm going to tap into because now I see a T-shirt that you're wearing which says Full Meals in Kannada,
Yeah.
which is also your upcoming movie.
Correct.
So before we get in, trying to understand a man who can, don multiple hats or probably multiple feathers in the same hat. So talking about your entrepreneur journey, today Bangalore being Bangalore, at a drop of a hat you will find a pub or you'll find a push cart. Everybody's trying to do something and to find their wind beneath the wings.
Which is good and bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, walk us through the 2015 phase of your life as to how did you start with Carjeans Cafe and how tough was it to start a cafe?
So Carjeans as a brand,
it's
is
Carjeans?
Carjeans, yeah.
Okay.
So it's
What
as
does
a
it
brand.
mean? Sorry.
It's an Arabic name. I'll tell you how it came up from. So it's not my brand. It's my childhood friend and business partner's brand, Faizan. So we both used to play cricket in Chandra Layout area. We're childhood friends. So 2010, he passed out from Ramaya, and he decided to open a cafe. And he approached me to design it. So I designed it, and then he opened a cafe in Hyderabad. And again, he came back in 2015 to Bangalore once the hookah ban was off. And he opened a cafe. That time I asked him, let's team up. So then I teamed up and opened the cafe in Koramangala along with a friend of mine called Anand. So we three teamed up and opened that. Then coincidentally, the Cunningham Road Hammered, which was earlier FBA, that came to us saying that why don't you guys explore and all. And again, a big stepping stone for us, Mr. Ahmad. He trusted us and he took us in to the project. So we renovated and we saw the space. Like, when we took the space of Hammered, a lot of people told us it's a ghosted space. It's a very bad luck kind of a space. Don't take
It's
it up.
haunted.
That's what they said. But you know, I've been there like I don't even have a count like how many times I've been there late night, early mornings. Nothing felt. It's just a perception of people. You know, if something doesn't work in a space, they want to put into a seed saying that it's a negative space, which is not. That space made our careers. So we made
Clearly.
Hammered. Yeah.
Okay. So, what got into this space as an accidental start through friends coming together and your interior designing skills coming
Yeah.
in handy?
Yeah, I turned around the space in 45 days. Like from the time I took, we had to renovate the whole space. So I did that in 45 days. And we
Taking a
broke even in 3 months.
Oh wow. I'm just now getting into
Only that
analytics.
space, huh? Not other spaces. It doesn't happen every time.
Uh-huh.
It happened there as the whole setup was ready. I just had to do the cosmetical changes, which happened, and competition was not as much as what it is today.
Today, right,
Yeah.
right.
Today, people don't trust a brand very easily unless until they see a crazy Instagram reel.
Since you opened multiple talking points for me, probably I'll start with the cafe. You know, I mean, today a lot of people want to play with the money they have as an entrepreneur. The easiest that comes to their mind is to start something in the food business. Since you started there accidentally and now you have understood the trick of the trade clearly, um, what kind of monies and what kind of involvement does it require to be in a cafe space?
When we opened Kajins earlier, like when we go back to 2015, my investment back to, if I have to open a Kajins today, is 4 times. So if I could do a cafe in 50 lakhs then, now it'll need at least 2 crores. Likewise for breweries or pubs. So back then we did a pub in under a crore because the whole license, everything was ready there. But today, if I have to do the same thing, I need minimum 5 crores.
Oh, wow.
So that's the drastic change which Bangalore has gone through. Even though the competition has increased, but the financial investment scale is kind of getting closer to not being able to break even, I feel. Yeah.
Forget. I mean, break even itself is a survival point that everybody is.
Usually in every business, what we look at
profits.
is about 2 years of break even, which is good. But with my brands, I've broken even in maximum 1.2 months, 1 year, 2 months. But now, like I see other people investing, the investments look unrealistic. Like pubs have opened up, like breweries have opened up with an investment of 50, 70 CR. How do you break even? In 5 to 6 years, any restaurant or brewery has a lifespan.
Right?
Unless you're a toy or some places which are iconic and you know your whole market, it doesn't matter. You know it's a weekend, it's a long weekend festival. People are going to go there and dine. But for a general space, like if it's not a CBD area, it's an outskirt area, all that matters. You know, it dies off in the span of 5 to 8 years is what I feel. I can be wrong, but I have some brands which have lasted as well. But typically, a brand fades off.
Okay. So, firstly, you spoke about the money part. Cafe, what would have costed around 50 lakhs in 2015 is today 4x.
Around 2 CR, yeah.
4x. And the same, that's the same for pubs as well. 4x
Yes.
is what you can.
Yes.
Now, I would like to explore how is the money spent and what does it take to start something from the scratch. Walk us through the license bit, the building,
You want to hear
the
the good part or
permissions.
the bad part?
I think I would want to go with the bad part first because I like reality.
So first thing is finding the location. Your rents today is like people expect 200 to 300 rupees a square feet, which technically is not possible for anyone having a space of about 7 to 8,000. Like your rent will shoot up to 14 to 15 lakh or 20 lakh, depending on where you're located, which is technically not possible for a 7-8K restaurant to generate so much and pay the rent. Number one place where a lot of economics are going wrong is what I feel. But luckily, we have been fortunate enough where we have good land bank, and you know we are paying a fair number of rent, so that our whole P&L works out better way. So that is one. One, you find the location, then your rentals.
Okay.
Then comes the architecture. So when you do up an interior, you can do up a space in 100 rupees or it can go up to 1000 rupees. It depends completely on the client and how well the interior designer is fooling him or he's making him do what is needed. So you can buy a chair for 3000 rupees. I'll give an example. So we buy our furniture from China. We've been buying furniture from China since 2017, 16. Initially, we did it here. So this chair, I don't know the chair you're sitting on right now. It may cost 15 to 18,000 in Bangalore,
There you go.
right?
Yes.
So you go to China, you'll get the same chair for about 2,500 rupees.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a different world. So when I visited China, I realized the pace they are in, the future they are already in. Like I feel it's impossible for India to get there. Technically, no matter how advanced we say we are, they have just crossed. There are many finishes which even in India doesn't happen till date.
So I've been told there are manufacturing villages for each category.
Yes,
So for furniture,
there's a different city.
right, because we've been told today white labeling is one thing that everybody is doing. They get the product from there, they add their name to it. I don't even want to probably name few. Could be the oaks or could be whatever that you're looking at in the market. Anybody who's guaranteeing you, giving you the price benefit and the designs changing in rapidly. So
Yeah.
that's the key. Okay. So when you went to China, oh, firstly, I mean, this is literally blowing our mind as to anybody who's wanting to do drop shipping or white labeling. Probably it can help them. So please walk us through. How do you go to China? I mean, how do you find the vendors? Like, how do you trust?
So again, my partner Faizan, he had actually confirmed a kitchen order to a friend who said he's getting it from China, and he was cheated. So we didn't have the trust factor when we had to actually get the furnitures. But coincidentally, a friend of ours called Latif, he's into this business. His business is to just get everything like a table. He gets maybe 1,000 quantity of table, 1,000 quantity of same standard design of furniture, and sells it to distributors. So he
Oh.
doesn't sell it directly to the customers. So he happened to be a friend of Faizan through cricket. They play cricket together. So then with him we went, and after our consignment came to Bangalore, we were like, okay, our consignment has come. Till then, even we had our doubts. After that, it's very easy. For candles, we did online shopping. So it was during COVID when we were executing candles, and we had to place the furniture. So we literally did online shopping for that. Now it's
Got
pretty easier now. Once the trust has built with him, it's easy for us.
Any website or anything that you would like to drop in? Like, this is a starting point if somebody is wanting to buy or start a business in China or from China. Nothing?
All I know is to import there. I mean,
As
not,
in,
not to.
I was just looking at the websites or contacts that how does one get these online? Is it
So for
available?
furniture, as I said, my friend, his furniture store is called Hubli Furnitures.
Hubli.
Hubli, yeah.
So, okay. So,
So
if you Google,
if you Google or probably look at
so
Instagram,
he's a distributor.
he's a distributor, yeah.
So his source is somebody in China that usually is not revealed, right?
He's an Indian.
Oh,
Yeah, in China. He's settled in China. He's married a Chinese.
oh, wow. Nice. Thanks for introducing us to the concept of how China eases out your cost when it comes to setting up a pub or
yeah.
any hotel space. So we discussed about the interiors, rent, location, interiors, and the
And
architecture.
the main part. Architecture, as I discussed, it depends on who's designing the space, how well you save your money. You can do up a space in 30% of the budget of what an architect gives generally, because that's the kickback people have. And me being in interiors, all our spaces are turned around in a shorter value of money and time, because I have connects with vendors. The planning is more personal than it would have been another person doing it up.
Also personal, and you can read through the quotes and you can see
What is
what
needed
is
or what isn't.
what
not
is
required, yeah.
inflated and then stuff. Okay. And the last part is?
The main part, staffing.
So walk us through the numbers. For example, your first hit pub was Hammered, right?
Yeah.
I've been to the space. It had lot of graffiti walls.
Cunningham Road, yeah.
Cunningham Road, and then at any point in time, I'm assuming you must have had 100 people.
We were a 400 seater, so I think any point of time on a weekday we would have about 400 walk-ins in a day. So any point of time about 150 to 200 people.
So for a 400 walk-in per day, even on a weekday, it is 150 people serving the place, running
About
the
100.
operations. 100 to 150. So 1:4. So for every 4 person walking into your
You have one person.
thing, one. Okay. So this is a universal rule.
Mostly, yeah. It's like a thumb rule.
1:4.
Yeah.
All right. So
It's more like 1:36. We usually divided like one captain should take care of 36 people. About 5-6 tables. That's
Got it.
how it is.
So I was trying to do every 4 person gets served by one. So here you're almost saying the same.
Same thing,
One
yeah,
is
it's pretty
doing
much same,
3.6. Okay. So once you get the staff in place, how do you ensure
They don't
trust
They
and
stay, yeah.
yeah.
So for us, what played a major role was we were from the cafe background. So we had that trusted source of chefs and service boys who were with us. But the other side, we didn't know about bars. Like we didn't know how the whole bar industry works. So that's where we hired a consultant for that space. And they set up the whole bar menu, food menu. Food menu was mainly by me and Faizan. And we still feel whatever we do together has always worked wonders.
Example I think I've seen trends like puliyogre poppers. I mean, I'm just giving you random
Not so extreme, but
random trends.
we
But
were the
yeah.
first guys to introduce chicken sukka golgappa in Bangalore. It happened over a conversation. So I'm a big fan of sukka. And my Faizan was saying we should introduce pani puri. Then I said let's give it a different twist. So we put the sukka into the pani puri and gave it with pani.
Is it the same thing which used to come on a truck?
Yes,
Which
yes, not bad. You remember?
Yeah, see, that's a recall value, right? Okay, so
And we were the first guy to do ads for Facebook. Like I don't think people would shoot videos back then. We used to shoot proper videos, like a technical video, edited, background music, all that. Because the reason being, I was from the industry, so I had connects with people, cinematographers, editors, all that. So yeah, coming back to staff, usually what happens is not all consultants. Majority of consultants look at getting a project, making their money, and getting out.
okay.
So first 3 or 4 months of once the place opens, you'll see that staff. Once the consultant is out, the whole staff is out.
Oh,
So your quality drops.
they take them along, is it?
It's a very standard practice. So you have to choose your consultant very carefully, and they have kickbacks in everything. Like you buy rice, you buy furniture, you buy garden, landscape, anything.
Crazy. So that consultant can either make or break your business. I mean, if at all, if you don't know if you're not knee deep in the business.
Nobody can make or break. It's you. If you're smart enough, you'll get through it.
Yeah.
You'll have to be smart enough to read people. That's what I believe. I mean, see, how irrespective of how smart you are, people will cheat you. It's business. Business itself is, a game of cards. how well you play it. So you have to be smart enough. So you have to understand how your vendors are. Like you have to compare the market. You have to see varieties. And now there are a lot of online portals. Like one of the best portal is Zomato Hyperpure. So you're ordering online, your price is fixed. There is no connect between the guy ordering and the material coming in. So he won't keep a kickback. Plus your quality is good. Now we have moved into that model.
Because
So we
everything
order
is
everything
getting
online.
corporatized, and even Zomato
Corporatized,
will have an edge in serving to that category of like B2B.
Correct.
Oh. So for the B2C anyways, Swiggy's and these guys anyways have it.
Yeah.
So with the growing industry, even these entrepreneurs or these startups are finding the gaps in the system and trying to.
True. And I've been pushing all my friends in F&B saying that just switch into Zomato Hyperpure. Because it cuts down. See, whatever you do, your store guy will get a kickback value. So last year, we had a very bad experience. So we hired one guy who was a director of operations. His salary was around 3 lakhs. So this guy bought in whole accounting, purchase, everyone. And he has done a big goof up. That which we are, end of the day, it's come on us. We see in the last 8-9 years, whatever we built, he just crashed it in 6 months because of a wrong intention. And once he knew, okay, it's come to the neck, vanished. The whole team vanished.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So when things like this happen, does it land in a legal battle?
It has, yeah. It has landed us in a legal battle, and we have to face it. There's no other way. Because, yeah, all the vendors who came through his side were giving him a kickback. For example, I'll tell you a social media agency which should technically charge you if your business is doing about 1 to 1.5 CR a month, you should not spend more than 50 to 60,000 a month
On an agency.
on a
which will
social
get
media
you
agency which
on-
handles, shoots your food, XYZ, just
and
to keep your
influencers table and all of that?
influencers is a separate subject.
Oh.
Yeah. They should charge you about 40 to 50,000, but these guys were charging 1.5 lakhs to us. We fell for it. So I'm sure that, they were getting a very good kickback. So it happens in all the categories. Vendors only say, give me more order or take my dead stock. I'll give you so much. It happens with liquor. Can you believe that? The big brands. So just to place their name on the menu, they give 30-40,000 to managers. So it's gotten to a level where like every day we have to monitor. F&B is a very 24 hours time consuming business.
Crazy. I mean, to the outside world, it looks like, oh, it's a big place. It's with people thriving the place like bees.
No, it is.
getting,
It's definitely one of the most lucrative business. It's a cash rich business. There's no credit. You take credit from vendors. So
So now you were speaking about the bar menu and some of the accidental innovations which has created a trend in the market. So firstly, how do you read food trends and when will you know to pull it back saying, this is not working, it's time to change?
it's mainly data driven. So your software which you operate your restaurant should have that smartness or AI integration. The software which we use is pretty good. So we see the popularity report every day. So what is working, what is not working. But having said that, it doesn't mean if probably one dish is going in a day, just to give you an example, a pasta is going in a day. It doesn't mean you have to get it out just because it's going one dish a day. You still have to keep it for that one person who's going to come dine in your space. Maybe if you cut that pasta, it's going to affect a lot of other things. He might not come to your place. He might not drink. He might not come back. He might not get his friends. There are many other things. So you have to plan the whole structure in a very broad perspective.
This is crazy. I'm all ears because I'm a pasta fan and I can relate to it. Though it's not probably on top of my mind, it is like comfort food for me. Like suddenly, if I'm bored of these trends, if I'm bored of things, there are a few classics, right? You will always fall back on. So probably pasta is one. So how do you identify those categories? Like, do you have a formula there? Like this is a trend. This is, I don't know what's going to happen with it. This is a classic. Do not touch it. Do you have a formula?
Again, we have arrived at this formula with errors, wherein we heard a consultant's, we believed in a consultant where he said, change your menu, it's gotten boring, and we saw a major crash. So after that, we had to come back to getting our menu back. Then we saw a climb.
I think it's like reading into the situation like you guys are coming there every day, but the customer is not.
Exactly. And even if the customer is coming, Hammered was like, it was like a coffee shop. It was like a meeting spot. All the many industry people used to always come, hang out, So the person coming in every day, it's like home for him. He wants a particular coffee. He wants a particular dish, which when we change, he gets upset and he doesn't come back. So we saw that. We saw that backlash. Then we regretted. By the time, we could understand it was 6 months. We saw the sales going down. That's when we realized, oh no, we shouldn't have changed it. Then we got it back. So it's a very tricky move. And if you see, RRR, maybe Mysore's Hotel, they don't change the menu. They don't change the furniture. They don't change anything. Like you go to the washroom, even the sink is same. It's functional and it's good and it's neat. So that thought, after we did all this mistake, we realized that we shouldn't change things. People don't like changes. Whoever comes to you, he comes to you for a particular reason. Make sure you maintain that. Yeah.
So you only skirt some changes which are not so noticeable, but you maintain the core.
Exactly. Core or maybe 90% of your business.
So through the journey, you were talking about how you guys read into your own analytics, as in you guys have a data of close to 400 to 500 people walking in every single day, which will amount up to 30 days. On weekends, the traffic will obviously be 4x.
Weekend it doubles up. It goes up to 900 to 1,000.
So with so much of data that you all
So
have,
we have about a monthly all outlets put together about 30,000 every month. And of
So
course,
you-
there are a lot of repeat customers and all that.
but still you have close to 30,000
A month.
people's behavior that you guys are
From 9
reading
years.
into from 9 years through what they're drinking, what are they liking, what are they not.
So when we started, gin culture wasn't there. So last 2-3 years has been gin. Then wine has always been there. So we've seen all that change, you know. So people were drinking only a particular brand of whiskey. Now they've moved into single malts. Like I think it's all about people aging as well. So and cocktails. Cocktails used to go very less earlier. Now it's all about cocktails, beers, brewed beers.
I think you have to blame
People are very
Insta.
educated.
Yeah.
Yeah. People know the drink. Like you give them a wrong mix, they'll say this drink is wrong. So see, everyone's traveled abroad, or they've traveled to anywhere. A lot of places in India, they know how things work.
Crazy. I think now I've touched upon probably a Mount Everest now, because I'm sure the topic is very big. It's liquor.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as people like to believe people are stepping outside for a drink, it is still the food which is giving you guys all the money. Am I right?
It's both ways.
Both?
Both ways. Yeah. But more profitability is in food.
All right. So, understanding the liquor side of a pub or a brewery, firstly, I think in the conversation you did drop few hints as to there are little things like, which brand gets featured on the rack, or what is basically made as a face of a particular pub's entry or whatever. I mean, firstly, I would like to start with the conversation about how a pub functions, because brewery is a bigger chapter which we will tap on later. Because it's pubs, we are talking. Insta has probably brought in the trend of cocktail because everything has to look fancy. It's colorful. The glass, or the what do you call the shot glass?
Serveware, anything.
Serveware, yeah. Everything has to be fancy. What used to be to the
Straight,
tongue is more to the eyes first.
Exactly.
So how are you guys reading into these trends, and then what happens there?
So the best and the bad part about these trends is they fade out. So when they are working, and it has to be unique, it can't be the same. Like whatever I'm getting in a pub A cannot be in the pub B. So every time we are reinventing, thinking over, looking at references from far away, and copying or getting inspired and making them. And later is purely about holding on your customers, retention, which has become a major problem right now in the city, because you have so many pubs opening in a month that a customer won't come back to you at least for the next 7 or 8 months.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm just talking to you purely on data.
So once a customer comes to you, for him or her to be a repeat customer, it takes 7 months of roundabouts, exploring all the other places, and again the person is coming back to you?
Yes, if you're good.
Oh, that too if you're good.
If you're good, yeah.
Oh,
If
crazy.
you're good, and every 20 minutes, every 20 rupees, customer changes the place. Like the affordability of a customer changes every 20 rupees in the pub. Like if a beer is costing 150 rupees, 160 rupees, 170 rupees, he will come back to you or he'll not come back to you. If you're higher, more chances he won't come back to you. And in the same area, he'll have many options. Like I think any good areas has minimum of 7 to 8 bars. So you know, and he doesn't want to hang out in the same area. Maybe most of the time it works both ways. Like sometimes you don't want to get out of the area because of the traffic, but sometimes you don't want to hang out in the same area. You'll go to another area. So a lot of factors.
So with this, now there are classics like a Pina Colada or a Bloody Mary, which used to be like, a drop of a hat I used to come up with. I blindly used to order. But today it's like one smoky thing coming out of something, or the fire, or there is this edible flower. I mean, who decides, who coins them?
There are bar consultants, but in our case, it's me and my partner who keep exploring. We travel, so we explore, we see the culture outside.
Is there a BAP of these trends, like how they say it's Paris for fashion? What is it for liquor? What is it for pubs and food trends? Is there any?
I think we were the Bobs. But there are many Bobs now. So now what has happened is a lot of MNC kind of funding is coming in to pubs. So people are investing 50, 100 crores. And it's getting crazier, you know. People want to be the biggest.
Yeah.
Like they want to cater to 2,000 people, 3,000 people. It gets harder. But eventually what happens is sustainability. I don't know how far are they going to sustain. Because F&B is like any other business, you do a turnover of 100 rupees, you'll save 30. You'll save 70. But in F&B, it's reverse. So that 30, that profit can go lean anytime. So there's a long weekend, now after COVID, we have seen two different types of businesses, pre-COVID and post-COVID. So pre-COVID, I knew how much sale I'll do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Post-COVID, I don't know what sale I'm doing on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, there is a 70-80% accuracy, but if there's a festival, there's a long weekend, anything comes up, your month is gone. So people are too much into traveling out of Bangalore or wherever they're staying. So I think the mindset has changed. So people, I think Bangalore culture has changed from pubs to coffee and travel. You see, me and my friend, my partner Faizan, we keep discussing. We were thankful to Rameshwaram Cafe because he became a hit. People stopped investing in pubs and they moved into Rameshwaram Cafe kind of concept, which is a reality. Now you see everywhere people are opening a dosa idli.
True that.
A similar replica of Rameshwaram Cafe or something around the same line. And now it's coffee shops. So I think for coffee shops, the main reason is hookah being banned in Karnataka at the moment. So all the hangout culture of the shisha places have moved into coffee shops and they're performing extremely well now.
So pubs, coffee, and the idli dosa, QSRs.
QSR, yeah.
So these, all right. Now bringing the conversation back to the liquor. So you guys know the trend. I mean, you guys know it changes every 6 months.
Honestly, we don't know anything. We're just evolving with the time. We're evolving as we get challenges. We evolve as we see people reacting different. We're just acting on it. So me and my partner, my friend Faizan, we are like 24 hours on the urge, on the edge of the seat to make sure our business is always on the top.
But some facts that you mentioned are crazy. Like, I'm sure everybody is probably thinking of a ER, yeah? I want a ER, how it's basically pronounced. It has 1,800 seating capacity, and now, like you said, it's basically they're creating a Bali environment
Benchmark.
In a brewery, and then the turnovers are less.
It was Big Brewski actually who went into that scale first.
Oh yeah, actually. Then probably to some extent socials.
Socials, yeah, but his scales are not so big in terms of the outlet scales. Maybe I think the Belando one is big. Usually it was Big Brewski.
So now it is, I didn't know that these funding scene has gotten into these guys because now you guys are individuals.
Socials,
running.
I think, is funded.
Now Gillies, is that because they also have branches? So I've
Gillies, I'm not sure, but I off late heard Barbecue Nation has gone into IPA and there's some other brand.
So everything is getting corporatized and everything is now getting into the IPO route.
But what we have seen in the last 9 years is even people want a personalized touch. People look for that. People want people. So that connect of people is very much required. Maybe for a buffet kind of a space, it's okay, as long as you don't know the people. But in bars, what I have realized is, people come, it's his bar, you get this. That always works. And when we expand a lot, you lose that connectivity.
Got it. I think that's exactly why even people like Vidyarthi Bhavans have still not dared into, making into a money making
Veena store, Brahmins.
Right.
There are many places.
So you think that emotion is holding water in the
definitely,
pub and the brewery business. So during another conversation with Mr. Ajay Singh, who happens to be the MD of Advait Motors, I got into a conversation wherein he spoke about how cars don't get any credit. Example, even if they're selling 1,000 cars a month.
But they encashed on it during COVID.
Oh yeah.
They said, yeah, this is a real story. So what they did was they said they didn't have chips. It was a joke. So they had chips. They didn't want to get the inventory and get it locked. So the demand, they played the game of demand. So demand and supply. Not only them, all the brands from Mercedes to Hyundai or to Maruti. They just said there's no chip problem. It's not coming from China. But now that's reversed. Now they have over inventory and they're not able to sell. So now they've come back to giving discounts and all that.
So my revelation during the conversation was these are cars even if you are averaging 10 lakhs a unit. So even for 1,000 cars, a dealer would probably manage to sell. They don't get credit. So wanted to understand what happens with the liquor industry because you guys.
We don't get credit as well. So we have to buy it from the government. We get a discount of about, I think, 10% when we buy it from KSBCL. And above that is what we price it. So overall, you make about 20% a drink, I feel.
That's the profit margin whenever you sell a
glass,
fancy drink or whatever.
Cocktails is more. A straight drink is less.
So straight drink is 20% and a cocktail you're looking at because, yeah, dude, I don't know how to put this out. What used to be like 400, 500 bucks, today there are a few cocktails starting at 750 bucks, 800 bucks. I mean, which is even overtaking the price of the whole food. I mean, one dish.
True.
So there, do you think the margins are probably running
Cocktails,
at a...
but see, overall ecosystem has to balance. So a restaurateur has to increase the price. He has to pay the rent, staff, the government officials who are our business partners.
That's a subtle way of you polishing few things. But I mean, hardcore realities
reality.
of
You can't
staying
run
in
away
the
from it.
business. All right.
Yeah.
So tapping into the liquor credits, I mean, people have their favorites like, Black Dogs and whatever. I mean, I don't want to do the name calling here. But how different does a beer function compared to a whiskey in a Bangalore market or even in a pub market?
Bangalore is typically a beer market. Whatever you do, the sale of beer cannot be overtaken unless and until it's a winter season. So throughout the year, people are going gaga about beer.
Yeah?
Yeah. If you don't have a beer in your bar, your sale would probably drop by 40%. And that's the sale hike we have seen. Initially, when we opened Hammered, we used to have only bottled beers. So we installed draught beer. We saw the sales spike up by 40%. So we understood that, what Bangalore market is. And there are some guys so dedicated to a brand like Kingfisher or Budweiser. If they don't have it, they don't go to the place.
Oh, really? Even after the breweries coming in, they've been able to, command the loyalty?
Totally. Now there are a lot of varieties of draught beers as well. You don't have to be a brewery typically, but I feel being brewery has its own USP. The people value and, the desire to dine in a brewery space as well.
So when it comes to the numbers, so it's basically beer which is running your space mostly when it comes to liquor. And next comes your other hard liquor.
Next comes the king of drinks, Old Monk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rum.
Whiskies, of course. Whiskey is there. But Old Monk is like it's like water, like Bisleri for us. It flows.
Why so? Because it has a cult following, or is it?
Yeah, I think people who drink Old Monk have this regular habit of having it. They drink more often, maybe. So yeah. Then there are, of course, vodka, gin, which is doing great.
Right now, it's the gin which is probably controlling the cocktail market.
Yeah.
You can say.
Up to a level, yeah.
And what happens to the villain of the drink, tequila, which is always somewhere there?
Now it's more of Ego shots.
Yeah.
I think tequila has come down.
Ego has gone
way ahead.
Yeah, Jaeger and the Red Bull. And
the combination, the way they promote, the way Red Bull does branding, the way they do their ads.
So help us understand how does, I mean, we got to know the real estate part of it, the designing part of it, the operations part of it, what runs, what rakes in the moolah all of that. Now, do you all do tie-ups with these liquor brands directly, or you have an agency in between? What
It's
is it?
direct, mostly direct. One thing wrong they do is they come fix your manager to cut the costing down. See, if he comes and meets me, a brand, I would ask for a 20 or 30% discount. But in the same way, if he pushes the barman to buy more liquor and he gives him a 30,000, his job is done. But when I'm asking for a reimbursement, I'm asking on a reimbursement of a 10 lakh stock. So I'll pick up 10 lakh worth value stock with your XYZ brand. Give me a 20 or 25% reimbursement of that. To cut these corners, they have got into another route where they come subtly, they meet the bar manager or the general manager of the outlet. He will give him a 30-40K and his job is done. He doesn't have to give me that 25% cut of what I would pick up, and it has to come back.
So the lesson here is you only have to do all the buying.
It's better when you're direct.
Since you have multiple breweries and pubs, does that help you in cutting the cost while you're putting your stock?
No, see, liquor, it cannot be shifted or served outside the premises. It's a very well-regulated industry, the liquor industry. So
Oh,
Yeah.
so what you buy, for example, for candles,
I cannot use it anywhere apart from the map what it is shown in.
and how do they track that?
The excise people keep visiting. There's a very strong pattern of checks. There are multiple departments in excise who keep visiting. It's very, very well
You need
regulated.
to play white. No dirty games there.
You cannot afford to play because your license would get cancelled. And as you know, there are no CL9 new licenses which are issued. There are only CL7 licenses issued, which are for rooms, and brewery they are of course issuing. But to run a brewery, you definitely need a CL9 mostly or a CL7.
Please ignore my innocence because we are very new to these license numbers and what it does. Also, representing audience's curiosity, could you walk us through what are the different types of licenses that is available? All that I know is now Bangalore has reached a place where new licenses are not issued. They're only rotating and renting those licenses.
That's called CL9.
That is CL9,
That's CL9.
wherein you pay 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs a month. Is that true?
Yeah, it's more than that. So just to give you a vague idea, if you want to get a license shifted with the advance XYZ, it'll cost you around a CR.
So, in our understanding, let's say if Rashmi has to have a license in her name,
Not in your name. You're renting it out. So CL, if you have to buy, it's around above 4 CR, I guess, as on today.
crazy. So, this 1 year thing is just that I am renting it,
You're
leasing
renting
it out.
Yeah, you're renting it out. You're renting it out from XYZ. So the license comes, then there's a transfer fee, then there's a security deposit you pay to the guy who owns the license.
So, 1 year is just like paying an advance.
All
or
these
some- or
expenses.
some-
Yeah.
And over this, you have to again pay
Pay the monthly rent.
monthly rental. Oh, this is basically like if you're renting
And
a
there are
house
some
advance.
guys who read your pulse, your business is doing well. After a year, he'll suddenly come up and say, I'm getting an offer for higher price. I'm going to shift my license. That happens in few places. It depends on persons, not all of them, but a few people have done that also. They see you doing well, they'll say, you're opening another place, why don't you increase my rent by 50K?
Oh. So, in your case, have you managed to buy any or you're only renting it?
As of now, me and my business partner, we feel it's not a logical move to buy because 4 CR is a lot of amount. You can do a new space. But buying is good when it's like an investment, like you buy a land and you get the returns. It's something like that. But again, there are pros and cons. Pro is if you get a good bar who's doing a good business, you'll get that rent. Cons is if the place becomes a flop, then your license is stuck. You can't keep the license empty. It has to be running. You cannot even close the shop for 10 days without the excise department giving you an approval for renovation or XYZ, So there are a lot of regularities. You'll get upset with that. There are so many rules and regulations you have to follow. So if your license is doing good in some place, it's good. If it's not, then you're in trouble. Till you find the next place, then the whole tension. Everything go. Eventually, see, if a place is not doing well, he won't be paying the rent. So it eventually goes on to the liquor license owner. He has to bear the cost, shift it out, the whole drama.
So, do you guys have any notice period sorts like 2 months, 3 months, you have to keep us posted types?
For renovation, I think it's typically 15 days. So you have to do up a space in 15 days. Otherwise, you have to again go notify a request for another extension. But you can't do more than 2 months, I think so.
Got it. So the licensing so far is CL9, which is on rentals. If you want to buy, you mentioned. Rental, again, you mentioned. CL7 is only for rooms.
CL7 is rooms. I think in Bangalore, it's above 15 rooms and above that. So you can have rooms and then you can have a dining space, which you can serve liquor to.
Why is that they're not issuing new licenses?
Not sure. I think it gets deep and dark with politics.
Any number that you would like to throw? How many licenses are there in Bangalore?
I'm not sure about that. I think it
There
should be
are-
1,000 plus.
Today, how many pubs are there? Probably will also indirectly give an indication as to how many licenses could be there.
Pubs, I think more than 400.
Now wanting to explore.
You know what we feel at this stage? The local bars are doing better than pubs. Who has way old furniture, whose menu is about 50 dishes, only bar bites like chili chicken, andhra chicken, basic fish. He has a loyal customer because there are very few local bars opening, and in an area, whoever is probably doing a 9 to 6 job wants to get a quick drink, he would go there, get a drink and move out. He won't think too much. Ambience is like this. I have to dress up. I have to go in a particular way. I have to do reservations. And this is as per data is what I've seen. So I have analyzed the pickup volume, what a local bar does and to a pub does. Local bars are doing much better.
Pick up volume in terms of stocking.
Stocking, yeah.
Since we have come to that, let's say candles. Your most successful place before Hammered was Secret of Bangalore.
All our brands have been successful.
I mean, like you will have your winning horse,
It was Car Jeans, Hammered.
Kajin Hammered, Secret of Bangalore.
It was good, yeah.
Then Candles,
Candles, yeah.
and now the Founders Brewery. So, in a month, what is the kind of monies that you all spend on stockings, like buy-ins?
In terms of hard liquor, which comes from KSBCL, each outlet requires about 8 to 10 lakhs minimum. Then it goes up. Like if your business is well, it goes up to 28, 25 lakhs.
KSBECL would be?
It's Karnataka State Beverage Limited, yeah.
All right. So you have to buy it from them. Like
You-
how
yeah, it has to come from there.
in Tamil Nadu there were Tasmax?
Tasmac, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, the shop is also owned by government.
Right.
Here
So-
it's not.
So here they have.
There are depots where you
Sublisted.
place the order and the bottles come in. And your minimum pickup value is 1,10,000 and above.
Oh, okay. So there's one observation here. You guys have gotten into cafes, pubs, hotels, and breweries, and not a liquor store like today. That's
CL2,
also
that's a CL2 license.
mall. Yeah. Any reason why you guys? Because it's very very close to the line of business that you guys are in.
Yeah, we have thought about it, but it didn't interest us. The profits in that are very lenient, is what we have heard.
You mean it's very lean?
Lean, sorry, yeah. That's what we have heard, and it never interested us. So we have a thing. If it doesn't excite us, we don't get into it. We don't have a gut feeling, we don't get into it. We don't think about it, we don't think about it.
Now exploring the brewery side, I think with Toit and now with many places, I think what you guys have done is probably a mix of what a good beer can do and also amazing place ambience can do. Now it's a hybrid between a fancy place yet having a brewery. So walk us through the success of brewery in Bangalore. Initially there were very few places.
Initially they were. Now I think it's about 150, 200 breweries. Again, I feel a few years down the line, it's going to get very challenging for people to survive if it's not located well, if it's not placed well. All these factors matter a lot. So when we did Candles, that was our first entry to brewery space. We didn't know the potential of it because in our bars we always used to have draught beer and we were happy. But when it comes to a brewery, the whole capacity of business expands into 5x.
Capacity as in the
As in
potential?
the potential of your turnover, the people coming in, the desired aspect. it just changes. So now what we are doing is we are wherever hammered, faded out for all the reasons, like hookah being banned. It was a combination of liquor and hookah, what was hammered well known for. So now we have broken down the spaces and constructed a more bigger space with more seating, and we're getting into breweries. Just because the reason being the potential and the weight of the whole process, the project.
I think for breweries, there were few early movers like Arbor,
Right.
Toit, who kind of opened the gates saying, hey, and they saw loyalty, they saw regulars, and we saw as customers huge tanks, and there is a glass box, and then we are dining right by it. What happens in those tanks? And I know it's barley, and then I don't know the rest. So what happens there?
Just to explain it to you in a simple process, you make the beer, you brew the beer in a tank where it goes through multiple heat, cold process. Then it's moved into a fermenter where the whole maturization happens for 15 days. That's as per the rule and as per the recipe also, that it has to be in a space for, in particular degree, temperature, all that science. Then it moves into a dispatch tank. So to make one flavor of beer, you need about 15 to 16 days.
Now I think the trend is changing from mangoes to I don't know what. How do you experiment before it gets into that huge tank? This is going to be a hit.
There are two ways. One is thumb rule. You see the market, mango, pineapple, or XYZ is working. The other one is you just go by a risk factor. Whichever
mean?
your brewer suggests or your management suggests or what the owners feel, which we did, and we went wrong in one flavor. So, which one of the GM I mentioned about, he was very pushy about a particular flavor, which didn't move.
Are you comfortable sharing? Which one are you talking about?
It was lavender flavor.
Lavender beer.
Yeah. And the brewer as well, he told us, you should do this, it's going to move. And he's had a good history of working in good spaces, but still, we shouldn't have fallen for that. That's what we have realized, that we should. An employee, it might sound offensive. An employee is an employee. A business owner is a business owner. That's the reality.
Because everybody's interest is different there.
Everybody's interest is different. Perspective, the experience is different. No matter.
Agendas.
Yeah. Agendas. So you have to be very, you have to look at things from a very wide perspective, that, when somebody is suggesting who's working for you, what his intention is.
Got it.
And then go with your gut feeling eventually.
That's a big cocktail of emotions there and decisions.
Yeah.
While you guys serve the cocktail on the table. So now the flavors, right? So we have certain favorites like lager and then the many.
Hefeweizen, ale.
Ale. Run us through the production cost of the breweries.
So if you're selling production cost of the brewery overall, or you want to go, how do you want to know, like everything in detail? Or I think
in detail wouldn't hurt.
So see, there's a per liter cost which you pay to the excise is about 35 rupees a liter. So you make a beer, you pay 35 rupees as a advance itself. So if your brewing capacity a month is about 10,000 liters of beer in your space, you pay for the half 5,000 into 12x into 35 rupees per liter to the government in advance. And that is your cost which you have to consume in making a beer per liter. Then comes in your water, electricity, labor, the whole wheat and XYZ needed to make the beer. Realistically, you should make the whole process in 100. So eventually you will end up spending around 200 to 250 rupees a liter. And by the time you sell I think 500 liter at about 350 to 400 rupees. So you sell a liter at around 600 rupees. Your margin, you assume it's 400, but then again there is wastage. So there's a lot of wastage which goes through.
Wastage as in, if it doesn't gets consumed within a span, you throw it? Is that
yeah, that is one. The other thing is while you're pouring, there's a lot of froth. Then there is a cleaning process which has to happen every day. So your profit gets leaner. And I think eventually you're making a 35% or 40% realistically, that profit on per liter you sell.
So how do you guys make a choice in terms of how many tanks that you all are going to have, how many flavors you guys are going
It
to
depends
brew?
on the flavor. Totally depends on how many flavors you want to sell and how many liters of beer you think you would want to brew. So, generally, if you go to any manufacturer, he'll try to sell a higher number of value. But what I feel, being in irrespective of any area, if you can brew about 4 to 5,000 liters a month, is a very good number. And if you're selling 4 to 5,000 liter a month, you'll be doing a sale of about 2 CR plus. So, but what happens is when these guys, equipment guys come, they will propose you a 10 HL. Like they will say you should produce 10,000 liters a month. They'll show you big dreams. Again, all these things, what I'm just telling you what
Learnings.
I've gone through. So you have to be realistic. Again, what happens is your duty increases. If you're making 10,000 liter, then again you pay a bigger amount to the taxes. Then you, irrespective of you use it or not, the tax is standard. Your production capacity is so much, you have to pay the duties on that.
Oh, too much. Lastly, how expensive are these tanks that we see, those steel tanks?
It starts from, if you crack a good deal, it starts from 60 lakh. The same thing can
One
go up.
tank.
No, overall setup.
I mean, a set which will have an average of 4 to 5 tanks?
Whole setup will be around 12 to 13 tanks.
Oh, that's a big number. Which has the capacity to produce 5,000 to 10,000 liters.
Easy, yeah. But the same tank will be sold to you for above 1 CR. Not all vendors will give you at that price. That's the reality.
You really need to know your shit.
I feel you have to have common sense and don't be in a hurry. But what happens generally is when somebody has taken up a space, he has his rent running, then he has his staff consultants running. So all these pressurize and you fall for another thing. So restaurant is a very sensitive business. Like you find, I think it's one of the hardest businesses I have seen because I used to do interiors, which was way, way, way easier. But the scale of profitability, of course, is here.
So now comes what's the involvement of these dine outs and then Zomatos?
Take a guess. Like just take a guess on how much percentage of business they get you.
30%?
It's 50%.
Crazy.
So what happens is even if the customers have not booked through Zomato or Dine Out or Easy Diner, there are many platforms now. They eventually come down to your space. They'll have all the 3 apps or 4 apps. They'll see which has the more discount. So what happens is these platforms, they give you an additional discount from their side. So it varies which card you have, how loyal you've been on that platform. So they swap through all the 3 platforms and then they eventually land up paying in whichever they're beneficial. If I'm giving a 10%, for them they might be getting a 25%. So it's like you're forced to have it. Without it, you cannot do it. And it's like it's just as good as a Google for food. So now people go, they see the review, they see your rating, they see pictures, lot of factors people stream and then come to your space. And of course, word of mouth is one of the biggest, which works.
So that 50% was they contribute to the
The revenue overall.
revenue. And you guys, I mean, we've been told like a Book My Show, all these guys have their 15 to 20% margins that they charge for being the person in between. So what is it for you all between these Zomatos or even Dine
So
Outs?
they take a transaction charges. It varies. I don't know. We are in a very good space because we have negotiated. We have been having a partnership with them for a long time. So I won't tell you how much percentage they charge me. But for a new player, they might charge from about 8 to 15%.
Oh, so that's an industry standard that one should be looking at.
That's a wrong standard, but yeah. They won't
what it
budge in
is.
if you're a new player.
Any word of advice for people who are even thinking to get into this space?
The money you invest shouldn't matter if you lose it. That's the only advice I would like to give. So you should be okay. I mean, it shouldn't make any changes to your life. Don't sell your land, don't sell your house, don't sell your jewel and invest into the business. Just invest like you're taking a phone or something and be mind free. And invest with right associations where, you've seen people doing business not with, you shouldn't get into a business with emotions. be emotionless and get into the business. And if it succeeds, well and good. Otherwise, move on.
I think in your own journey, you took a cutthroat decision of, saying bye to Hammered.
Yeah, we had to.
So, what runs in your head as an entrepreneur when you have to shoot a bird down?
It's hard, but reality is reality. When your numbers go down, you have to analyze, make the quick decisions. Like you can hang on to it, you can read the business for a while, which we did, because Hammered was a brand where people would say I've come from Dubai. We used to have a lot of Australians coming in, so it was a thing. Like people would talk in the flights, where am I going to hang out? Because we were one of the few. Now it's so clustered. I think customer would just hang out in and around. So what was running in my mind, Hammered, was my identity. I think it helped me in terms of films as well, getting into films and XYZ. So it was hard, and we just took the decision. And after a while, we even thought it was a wrong decision. We should have just held on to the same space, because people getting used to the new thing is not easy.
And then what's with candles? Like, how do you come up with the emotion of a place, like, what it is to people? Because it's end of the day.
Interiors, all that.
Yeah,
How do you connect? So when we walked up to that space, that Candles is located on the 12th and 13th floor of the building. We have a amazing view looking towards the airport side, the Hebbal flyover and all that. So when we visited the space, it was a gut feeling again. So you won't believe, Rashmi, we went to the 12th floor. Then to go to the 13th floor, there was a small ladder. I'm scared of heights. Faizan climbed up and he's like, come, you have to look at it. We couldn't see the view from 12th floor because the parapet walls were high. So when I climbed into the 13th floor, the view changed, the experience changed. It felt like we were in the clouds. And that gut feeling was what we said, okay, let's do it. And we closed the space during lockdown 2020.
Oh, and which kind of launched recently? Like, 2023, right?
22.
Oh, two.
2 years. Yeah, it's been 2 years now.
Oh, it. I thought it just happened recently, but anyway.
Candles was again one of the options which Faizan had suggested for Top House. But for Top House, I didn't
Mangalore.
one, because I felt it was too much polished for that target of audience. So we named that. And here we had this name in option. And when it comes to architecture, when I was designing this space, so again in designing, Faizan has equal, things to say. Even though I do the designing and execution part, his ideas, and we are very collaborative. So we came up with a theme together, saying that it has to be like a old Roman bar, because there's no Roman bars in Bangalore. And after that, many people copied, and they've gone into that directions. So that's how we came up with that theme, and it worked. So everyone who comes, we have statues. The architecture is Roman. So it's worked. It's worked for Candles,
Now you have the name, the Founders Brewery.
the Founders Brewery. Yeah.
It's quite different from everything. Candles is flirty, I don't know, romantic maybe, top house, old school. There was one fat unicorn in the
Yeah,
journey.
we had a gelato parlor. So we opened it in 2020 Jan, I guess.
Mhm.
No, 2020, 2019 mid. It was doing great. We were clocking an amazing revenue of about 20 lakhs plus for a gelato space which was about 800 square feet. But COVID happened. So after COVID, we saw a massive drop. Like people were not ready to eat ice creams. The whole thing was going on, don't eat ice cream, you'll catch cold. So we saw that massive drop. And in that graph of 2-3 years, we didn't want to sustain the business. And we feel the Bangalore market doesn't is not too inclined towards gelatos. They're inclined towards ice cream. It's just a very process change in making a gelato and an ice cream. So here the fat is more, and XYZ. There are a couple of
Gelato,
technical
right?
differences,
Mhm.
but they want ice creams. Like you want a Richie Rich ice cream, you want a Lakeview ice cream. Like your palate is so set here, it takes a lot of time. And at one phase of time, especially this year beginning, we wanted to cut down the losses. Whatever we're doing losses, we said, okay, it's a rapid decision we have to take and we have to move on. So this was one among the cuts. We'll come back with that probably in somewhere in central Bangalore. We have the equipments. Maybe we'll change the whole USP of the product and come back.
Oh, nice. I think, of course, it's the very own Bangalore space that you were operating in, which had seen the softy ice creams, which were a 5
Corner
rupee
house. Yeah.
hit corner house. You have uh, all the legends and all the newbies trying their.
We invested a lot of time. We both went to a course in Germany where the equipment is manufactured. They taught us how to make a gelato.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
A lot of heart went in there.
A lot of heart and time and money.
Uh-huh. But it's okay. I think sometimes you get a lesson that you will hold on to as a byproduct, which will always be a
Yeah.
good memory, which a reminder for you to
Yeah.
latch on to and try new things. Now coming to the Founders Brewery. Why the name Founders?
Founder's name is by Faizan, and we thought again we wanted a. I'll come to that. Why we named it Founders is we wanted a simpler name, and we always believe a simple name is it works wonders. Like Hammered was a very simple word which stayed. And again, coming to Founders, it's more of a club culture is what we want to introduce in people. So we have coffees to beer. And the pricing, we are very affordable. We wanted to cater to a huge audience, like starting from whoever is 21 plus till 65, 70. So, and even the architecture is designed in such a way that it's like a club. It's like a Bangalore club, a boring club. That's the intention we had. And we felt Bell Road was lacking that kind of a space, which is easy. You can come in your shorts or you can come dressed up. So that's where we thought Founders would be ideal for all age group.
Also, any theory, because theory in terms of choosing the location, Bangalore has changed. It's not like how Bangalore's school culture flag bearers were Koramangala or Indranagar. Today, Brigade Road and MG Road, sorry. Yeah, I think that's the OG, and these were the.
And it's come back.
Yeah.
If you remember, before COVID, Brigade Road was dead. The whole Church Street, which is happening with lakhs of people now, was dead because there was construction going on.
Right.
I know the business is like the only place, we've been going to it forever now. You never get a space there now, and even back then. But in that phase, I've seen that place being empty because there was no access to the space. But now it's come back crazy.
You think it's not changed the habit? Because today, I think every area is in itself, not just when
A
it comes
CBD
to
by
pubs.
themselves, yeah.
They have their own brands come, like HSR layout is a ecosystem in itself. A person living in HSR won't dare to go to MG Road for shopping at least.
Yeah.
Drinking for sure, unless that's the boredom catching in. Like I stay in area which is just 3 kilometers from HSR. The same behavior. Like I used to go to HSR to shop, but today a Sarjapur Road does the same to me. Like there's a Hosa Road. Like I see the gap narrowing, which means to say I don't know if it is good for the businesses or bad. Like there's so much of money pumped into branches and all of that. How do you all choose the area, like when it comes to investing in a new pub?
So we have partners who do data-based analysts. They analyze the whole thing. They give us data on how many ITs are there, how many residences are there, and we always make sure there's a mix of both. Because your IT crowd will come, they'll build really well till Friday. Saturday, Sunday, it's the families who's going to come back to you, or somebody around the area, maybe 5 kilometers. Nobody travels more than 5 kilometers also, unless they want to go to a happening place in the city, which is once or twice a month. On a regular basis, it's more of comfort now. You know how the traffic is. So that's how we pick our space and gut feeling.
Now Bangalore, at one point in time, I could say it's my city, being a Kannadiga. Today, I know that there is old Bangalore and there is new Bangalore. The unfortunate, I wouldn't want to put any labels to it. The truth is that today probably Bangalore is inching towards 1.5, 2 CR population. And at times I feel, okay, is this part of Bangalore the real old Bangalore charm? Wherein you have people from all over the country coming in for IT jobs or for multiple reasons.
Which is right, no?
I mean, it is just how the evolution of
As a businessman,
yeah.
I would say without them, we're nothing.
Right.
This
And
statement might
and I don't even want
sound
to.
wrong, but it's the reality. Like we see the business go down by 30% when there's a long weekend, which is a reality. And you have to respect people. You have to respect your guests.
So there is one emotion, there is one business angle to it, and there is a smart one who should be a hybrid of both. And
Real estate. Why is real estate so high? Because of them, right?
yeah,
Them
demand.
as in, I mean, everyone. But majorly because your IT hubs are coming up. Who's getting benefited? The locals.
Yeah, because there's a whole ecosystem around them. The builders are making the numbers. F&B jobs are being created today to the
Many,
extent
many
anybody can earn 40-50,000 today in Bangalore
Easy.
because of so much that has happened. So
It's interconnected. So when there were no offices during COVID, the cab guys were struggling, the auto guys were struggling, the many businesses were struggling, like the grocery businesses, could be real estate. Many things suffered.
the whole ecosystem.
The whole ecosystem.
So in your entrepreneur journey, what has the lows taught you? Like, any dead ends that kind of gave you a reminder? Or a blow in the
2024
face.
has been that journey, I feel, because it's been a hard year. Since I got into business in F&B space, we've never had a low phase than this. But now the way we are bouncing back has always been the experience, whatever we've gone through, and trusting the wrong people and giving them the authority in the company was one of the mistakes which we wouldn't want to do going forward.
Like the money speaks, what kind of freedom has it given you or has it taken away from you?
Money changes the way people look at you. So it's given complete freedom. It gives you exposure. They might say there's a difference between peace and this thing, right? You can have peace without having money, maybe, but I feel 90% only if you have money, peace comes in.
There, because there comes a choice of freedom.
It comes with a choice of freedom, many things. The way people talk to you is different. It's totally different. I'm not saying that you should wear lavish clothes or, travel around. Your weightage as a person increases.
That for somebody like you who has seen this in your 30s, what does it do to you on a personal space? Because I'm sure you've seen fame, you've seen money, you've seen blows like this in business. And what is life telling you with this cocktail of experiences you've had so far?
So, I've had a very rough phase when I was in school and college during XYZ reason. Financially, we were not in a very great space. So once I got this identity, I've seen people change. But fortunately, what has happened is my friend circle has remained the same. So whoever have been my friends since college or my area friends, they've been the same. Even now, we all are married. We have wives are friends in the same group. So it's changed. You are able to, you can reach anyone now if you want to. I think that power is what I like. So that power is what I like. You want to reach someone, you just take up your phone, get their number, you call them. The access of getting a work done gets much easier. Otherwise, rather you introducing, you meet them, build the trust. All that factors are different. So it all comes. Your pros are with being successful in business is you can get most of the work done at ease.
Dude, one more thing that I would just want to slip in. Since your journey started in Bangalore with the entrepreneur space, this land has also seen a couple of popular personalities from the industry, from the sandalwood space, like our power star Puneet Rajkumar. He had a Hangover as one of his investments, I guess, the pub. Now I see actress Rakshita Prem, who's a popular actress down south. She has Levels as her pub, and now, I think recently I saw Topic is AP Arjun, and now Rocks
Rocks is by Varun.
Varun.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Firstly, what kind of celeb interactions do you all have? Because it's like you guys are all entrepreneurs, also sailing on the same boat. Have you had any interactions with Appu sir?
Apu sir, we did a film together, no?
Right, as in.
Family Pack, yeah. But yeah, he was supposed to. I pitched him Candles, so then it didn't happen. But yeah, he was supposed to be a part of Candles, and we had plans of doing a couple of places together. Apart from the film, which we have done together.
And what's with all the the industry money coming in? Is it just a trend, or you just see there is more space? Is that a place to flourish?
Realistically, I don't think there's more space. It's
Already
unless until you're on the right spot, you have to be massive. It's a lot of things. Now the new brewery which we're doing is crossing double digits. So if you're ready to risk that, please come.
And any areas to look forward to? Like this is the next Bangalore's happening place when it comes to pubs or breweries.
See, I'll tell you one thing. When JP Nagar, even before Pump House or that belt picked up, we had an option of doing a space, but we didn't take it up. We thought that's a very old school Bangalore. Who's going to come dine there? And we did a space in HSR. But during that time, the amount of spaces which came up in JP Nagar and bloomed is unbelievable. And they were at one point doing the highest sale until Marathali came up. Now Marathali has beaten up, but I think after that is JP Nagar.
So who's going to bear the torch next? Which area of Bangalore or?
Whoever opens first is going to be the winner, I feel.
Have you seen Sarjapur Road? Now a huge place. I mean, half the names I can't even remember. Like
That's bad, right?
yeah, that's bad. Even with cars, I don't know half the car names. Like too
Cars is still
crowded.
better. there are many pubs that you can't remember.
So, all right. So now moving the conversation towards your personal journey. Full Meals it is. Full Meals is a Kannada movie.
Yeah.
And yes, what kind of freedom does it give you when you're not working in films out of desperation or, like there is no hunger in terms of, I have to be
Financial.
seen or, I have to do this for money. Yeah.
There is hunger to be seen, recognized. That is always there. That was my whole intention of starting my career with Udaya. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be a hero, celebrated hero, successful hero. So I had a journey in that. So 2010, I started Parole. I was one among the 4-5 guys. But accidentally, I got another Tulu film before Parole released called Oriyarduri Asal. So Oriyarduri Asal I got, and I was 20 years old when I became a solo hero. My Tulu was also very broken because I've been brought up all over India. My dad was into banking, so we traveled all over India. And at home we speak Tulu, but it was not completely perfect Tulu. It's a mix of English, Hindi, kind of a Tulu. I did that film, and that film did 1 year. I mean, it ran for a year.
Oh.
So again, there are many stages in life which I never expected it'll do so great. Because I was young, I had very less exposure in films. Then after that, then I got, then I did another film with the same team called Madime. That did decent. But I never got many offers in Telugu industry. I don't know why. Maybe I was living in Bangalore and people from there thought he's not accessible. Then I did Nam Dunya Nam Style. It didn't do so great. Then it dropped. I didn't have films. I was out of the space of entertainment. I was not doing television. I was not doing any film. I wanted to do film. I had like nowhere to go. That time I was just doing interiors. Then came the F&B space. Then I had the courage to say, ask my friends, let's make a film. So my Faizan and other 2-3 people, Pramod, Chelva, they said, okay, we'll invest in the film, let's do it. So I'm thankful to them. Sankasta Karaganapati happened.
I think that's one of a noticeable mark in your career
Yeah.
in terms of giving you an identity.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
here
were
you
one
are.
among the content films back then, like,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the same movie, right? Wherein.
Alien Hand Syndrome, yeah. The left hand.
The
goes
left
out
hand.
and- yeah.
I didn't want to randomly bring it up because what if I could be wrong? But yeah, see, we remember it was a problem wherein the left hand used to just
go
go
by
up
itself, be by itself, yeah.
in all the wrong situations and stuff. All right. So with a journey wherein you started with nothing, suddenly stumbled upon something else. Parallelly, your entrepreneurial journey giving you the identity, the freedom, and I don't even want to call the ego, but probably the confidence of, hey, here I am, and then getting into what you actually started your journey for, movies. You've seen the gamble, you've seen the highs and lows.
I've been fortunate enough. I've been lucky, I can say. Because how many people get a chance to produce their own film
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
doing another business at the right time, at the right space, when you're not too old as well. So I've been fortunate enough. Like after Sankastakara Ganapati, there was Family Pack. But I'll tell you before we get into Family Pack, the hard side of the industry.
Yeah, because here there are analytics. You can control few things. You can make changes. But how is film industry? Have you understood it, or do you think it gives you another opportunity for experiment or even to reinvent yourself?
It's I think making a film is easier. Selling and distributing a film is the hard part.
Why so?
Because when you're a new face, they don't buy your film. So you would have made a film in 2 or 3 CR.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start offering you 3 lakhs. And that was the number which they started offering Sankastakara Ganapati when I went for the first meeting to a channel, to a Kannada channel. Luckily, by that time, my movie released and it was doing great. We were in the 3rd week. Amazon came. We were this 3rd film in Amazon to be bought. And they paid a good number, which I close to recovered the film's budget. Then distribution is very bad. Like they're not transparent and they don't give you the accurate numbers. Now I've heard apparently that the new distributors directly send the money to your account. Otherwise, it goes to the distributor's account and then comes to you. So whatever accounts he gives you is the money. You have to believe it.
The film, you mean let's say an Inox or a PVR or a theater. So whatever money is they're collecting, that comes directly to the filmmaker, not to the distributor.
It still happens that way, but there are new distributors who route it directly to the producer's account.
And then later take a cut from you all.
Take a cut from us, yeah. Otherwise, whatever distributors say, you have to just say, how sir, take it. I've had bad experiences. The distribution network is very bad here. And the production, they just promise. There are 2 big production houses who were supposed to produce Family Pack. Said okay, the first production house, he said okay. He stopped answering my call. Second production house, he said, do the film. You put the office, you pay the advance to the dialogue writer. I did that. He stopped answering my call. I spent 7 months in that, just in these 2 processes. And me and Arjun were like, Arjun is the director of Sankastakara Ganapati and Family Pack. We were like, what are we doing? We've delivered a good film. And then we started that film. Then eventually he said, check with Apu sir. He's hearing scripts. I just sent him a text saying, hi sir, I wanted to meet you for a quick 20 minutes. He called me on WhatsApp. He called me, he's like, yeah, Lakesh, what is it about? I said, sir, me and Arjun are doing a film. We wanted to pitch it to you. He said, okay. Then after 20 days, we met. That process took another 3 months because I had to, ma'am had to hear, Ashwini ma'am had to hear, Apu sir had to hear. Then they analyzed. Then they made Radhakrishna, director, hear it. So all these guys heard the script and then they finally said, okay. So we took off Family Pack. But again, we did the photo shoot in March 10th or 12th, COVID 2020, 20th of March. Then again, we are stuck. So why, if people ask me why that gap after Sankastakara Ganapati, these are the things. And 1 year, whenever I'm making a film, I make sure 1 year of time is spent on scripting. Because there's so much content outside that if you make a silly content, people just won't even glance at your product. So, yeah.
Now that I think with Sankastakara Ganapati and probably a Family Pack, and you have some credibility.
Yeah, I definitely
Of course.
do. Yeah.
I mean,
all thanks to Apu sir, because if he had not collaborated, during Family Pack is when I got Ababa. And even Kirti was doing a film. We had announced a film, Love Madhve, which didn't happen for XYZ reasons. But because of Apu sir, that gave me a push.
what's your favorite moment with him? I mean, because people talk about him as a star, but I always try to see the human people saw in him. We only remember his kindness. We only remember his big heart,
There are
amongst
many,
many
many
things.
moments. One thing is be grounded.
Be
He
humble. Be grounded.
be humble. He never. He was
Flaunted his
easy
power.
with everyone. Never flaunted his stardom. He was very nice, and I think if he was there today, a lot of new guys would have got the opportunity to do films, which Ashwini ma'am is still carrying. And his business, like his films, doing a business, I think we would have lost about 200 crores roughly for the industry.
The man's absence.
Yeah, and him supporting. He supported so many new guys. So
I think he was also going through that phase of life wherein, he has now made a mark as a
Yeah.
superstar. And now he was also trying to see who are the next line of talents.
he was exploring. I don't think he was playing a gamble, but he was randomly exploring. Like all his productions, if you see, there are many new faces. Female being a director, the whole team
O2?
was O2, and before that
Achar and Co.
Yeah, Achar and Co. Many projects.
Yeah, he was taking those chances because he had the strength and he had the vision.
He had the strength. You won't believe. So the deal with Amazon was for Family Pack was done by Apu sir, and we made 2 times the profit.
Nice. Because, I mean, that side of his, business acumen coming out seldom gets spoken about. Only people who've seen that. I think somebody was talking about how he used to have meetings with Amazon guys in Shangri-La or
No, they was just to come to his office.
that only. They used to come to his office or probably even in the hotel space and all of that. He's stepping out of meetings.
He was very grounded. The last time I met him was on 23rd of October, 22nd of October. I gave him 2 T-shirts. So when I went to give that, there were a lot of meetings happening that day, and I was about to go next. I was waiting down. He had an office in Sadashiv Nagar. Umapati, producer, came. So as soon as he came, he said, "I'll just take him, finish him." That meeting went on for an hour and a half. I was waiting. He came down. I was at the entrance of the gate. He came down. He apologized. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I made you wait." Like he's that kind of a personality. Like such a big star saying, "I'm so sorry. I made you wait." And he was producing a film. He has produced a film for me. So that is something different. I met him. That was my last memory of Apu sir. I met him that day, and I gave him this T-shirt. Next day he called me. I was in shoot. We were shooting in Tumkur. We were shooting for Ababa. And he said one T-shirt was not fitting and he'll tell his manager to exchange. I said, and he asked whose number is given. I said, sir, my number is given, and that was the last call.
How have you kept him alive in your memories? Like, do you have any moments wherein you always go to certain memories, revisit it for whatever reasons?
Sometimes I hear his WhatsApp notes where he sent me, like we had designed the poster of Family Pack. He had suggested corrections over voice notes. I sometimes hear them. And of course, there's Ashwini ma'am, who is, being the face of Apu sir. So now also my movie is getting edited in their studio. Deepu sir is editing. And whenever I go there, I meet ma'am. She's very supportive. Anything you ask, she's always there.
In the pursuit of money or in pursuit of fame, people always think probably these two things are giving us some sense of purpose towards life. You've seen that in its own quantity so far. So as on today, 2025, curious to know, what phase of life are you when it comes to looking for purpose?
Purpose, my only purpose has been films and having good enough money, because the days I've grown up during my teenage is the main reason that, I don't want to be not so successful financially. So purpose, of course, is to have financial wellness, but at the same time having a healthy, happy family is what comes above everything. And I depend on that, because if my home is peaceful, I'm at peace at work. If my parents are good, my sister, my Jiju, my niece, my wife, everything. If everyone's good, I'm happier. I operate better. I've seen that difference. If things are peaceful at home, I'm at ease. But if they're not, again, I'm disturbed.
Like family man.
Yeah.
So I guess we spoke about everything pretty much. Any tips on investments? Because we get to see the entire side of a guest here. Like you have put your monies on pubs and then stuff like that's one. Here's your career. I mean, in terms of being an actor, that's the second gamble you've taken. But what is your safety blanket that you would always fall back on? Like, have you invested in real estate or bitcoins or mutual funds? What's your
Real estate.
real estate?
I think that's like a thumb rule from the ages. You just have to go for it.
You stand
Invest
by
in
it.
real estate. Take banks, land banks far away from wherever you are. It's eventually going to help you, no matter what. I
it's
did that
been-
one move, and that makes me feel secure now.
So that's your insurance policy.
Yes, you can say that. And not now, right? It's been there for ages.
Hmm.
So when my parents used to tell me that initially, I didn't realize the value, but now, yeah, today I do.
But today I think real estate is like very expensive even to touch. And now we have the theory where people want to rent and not to buy. Now there is a paradigm shift. If somebody wants to touch something today, so I don't know how to look at it now.
Uh, I feel whatever old school methods are, they're the golden rules. You have to just follow it. They would say invest on gold, invest on gold, invest on land, invest on land. There is
Land?
evil eye, there is evil eye.
Hmm. So that's something that's worked for you, and that's something
Yeah.
that you would want to pass on to the current generation as well.
And
the
go with your
Gen-
gut feeling. You feel
Gen Z.
even if you go wrong, no worries.
Hmm.
Things are gonna always work in your favor.
Lastly, what are the books that has
I
enlightened
don't
you?
read books.
Don't read books at all?
No, not at all.
Now, what do I give you? Because every guest gets a book,
Okay.
which we don't want to break the tradition,
Okay.
and I would still want to
Sure.
add in,
Anything you can suggest.
add in my, contribution to your life. Probably someday you might want to turn few pages of this book. So this is a book, Malegalalli Madhumagalu
Purnachandra
from
Tejas.
Illa Kuvempu.
Kuempuna.
Kuvempu Urdu. So you're a Mangi, right?
Mangalorean, yeah.
Mangalorean. So, since for our rest of India audience, I mean, who have managed to stick with us till now, people know about Daiva through Kantara. So, do you believe in Daiva? Do you also believe in
So-
God?
Yeah. In 2000, I think 11 or 12, I decided to give up with television. I was still doing television back then. Then I wanted to do. I met a friend who I had met through my movie journey in Dubai. So he had come to Mangalore. He's a Mangalorean again. His name is Dikshit. So he said, "Come, I'll take you to a temple. I've not taken anyone. I've taken only one person. You're the second person I'm taking, and you go here, your life will change." He literally said this. I went to Mangalore to meet him to discuss my interior company plan to open in Dubai. Then he took me, we discussed about it. I stayed over at his place. The next day he took me to Koragaja temple. And I don't know, this was around 2014 or 15 is when I went there. 6 months from there, I got into F&B. And it's a different change. And also, I have a routine of Dharmasthala Kukke for every 3 months. I think the energies keep me going when I go there. And Tirupati, of course. So these are some places I do. And our home god, of course, is there. So I'm spiritual. And that keeps you going. There's a positive vibe. There's a positive energy when you visit these places. So a person who wants to intentionally do bad to you also turns into landing up doing good to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that belief system has kept you going, and then you have a visit which you don't want to break.
I try to, make sure every once in 3 months I drive down. Me and my wife, we drive down. Then we spend some time in Mangalore, then come back. I have a property in Mangalore as well, so
Keep going.
yeah.
May the curiosity take you to all good roads
Thank
and
you.
keep flourishing.
Thank
And
you.
may you have many more babies.
What do you have memory of me? Our memory.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know where this is coming from. Why? I don't know, dude. Like,
We used to
sorry,
always bump in parties, if you remember.
oh yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm old. I don't.
This was back in 2008-9.
Hey, where?
City Bar?
Oh yeah. I think I just started my RJing career in 6.
8-9 you had done, na?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know why. This is what.
That's my
like-
memory of you.
Oh, is it? I think my memory of you would be with movies, or probably vaguely I remember you being on the TV. Were you
TV,
doing
yeah.
a live show, right?
Yeah, that
you were
was
taking
a-
requests and
Or
then
songs and
I think
then
that's
cracking a joke for each caller.
I think that's my first memory.
Yeah.
And later, I think in between you vanished.
I vanished. Yeah.
Later, I heard that obviously,
Hammered, yeah, car jeans.
you had started all of that, and my first reaction was, oh wow, not bad. As in from the space, like, oh, somebody who's an anchor, oh, he started his own pub. Oh, so that was literally the reaction. But it's not a judgment again, but that also speaks volumes about who you want to be and who you can be, right?
Yeah.
So I think my next memory will be that only. All the friends that I know who have pubs, right? So next I'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
Likit, what is he doing next? That's why I used a sentence, wish you more babies, which meant more pubs in Bangalore. So what
I'm okay
next?
both ways. Yeah.
Are you planning to explore into other cities as well?
Right now we have Mangalore in Karnataka, but we want to go Dubai is what we're looking at. Hyderabad.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dubai and Hyderabad.
Dubai and Hyderabad. Bombay, Delhi, we thought about it. We actually worked on a plan, but somehow we didn't get that gut feeling. So maybe Dubai and Hyderabad is what we're looking at next.
Keep going. Watch out, city. Likit is coming. So you also want to carry the chain system, as in the same name, because
No, now we are changing the names. We're changing the concepts. We're changing the whole experience.
So you don't want that to be like a
Flagship, no.
every place has to be unique and every
Experience
name.
has to be unique, yeah.
That's also a takeaway here. So that's where the brewery or the pub industry is headed. All right. Let me write something for you. So this is something I wrote which said, Dear Likit, write the story of your life the way you have always wanted / imagined. We are watching. You can sit only and take like an F frame
Yes,
without
yes.
Apurtira. Yeah, there you go. This episode's dessert partner is Polar Bear. Polar Bear, the ice cream Sunday zone. Polar Bear is now present in 160 outlets, 30 cities, and in 5 states. If you're a vegetarian, that too 100% vegetarian, Polar Bear is for you. The menu has 40 plus ice cream sundaes, and all the ice creams are made from pure milk. What are you waiting for? Visit and keep sharing the Sunday love.
I have something for you as well. This is the first hamper I'm giving.
Oh, nice.
So you're the first person to be getting a full meals hamper.
Thank you so much.
So do watch the film.
Definitely. So full meals it is.
Yes.
Curious to see what this is, which I will and give a shout out on Insta as well.
Sure. Thank you so much.
So lastly, who would you like to nominate on the show? 3 personalities we usually take it as guest suggestions from the guest.
I think Ashwini ma'am. Then my 2 heroines, Tejaswini Sharma and Kushi Ravi.
All right. So until next time,
Yeah.
stay curious, dude.
Thank you,
And,
Rashmi.
thank you so
See you
much.
soon.
So that was Likit helping us on a very insightful journey about how the restaurant, the pubs and the brewery scene functions, at the same time exploring his life with the actor side in him and the journey so far. So do let us know your guest recommendations in the upcoming episodes as to who would you like to see in the guest seat. And yeah, we would like to scroll through, doom scroll through the comment section as to what part of our conversations did enlighten you, did quench your curiosities in a particular topic, or did please you. Until next time, this is your Rapid Rashmi signing out of another episode. And lastly, if it is a non-Kannada audience watching us, do catch Likit's movies, Family Pack, Sankashtakara Ganapati,
Ababa.
Ababa, and of course the
Full
upcoming Full Meals. Thank you.
Thank you.